guys doing?
And welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We got the boys, Coach, Austin, and Hulk, joining you
Great.
with another action packed episode of fantasy football. Did you guys have a good weekend?
Hell yeah, brother.
It was a great weekend. Got some golf in, freaking put it flop shot right over a 40-foot tree, just dropped it right onto the green. Nobody was around to see it, but that's how it goes.
I feel
You
like
just
you're not
love to
allowed to
hear
say all the things you just said without a beer in your hand. Like, if you don't have a beer, I just flopped one in over the green. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like,
Oh, it was great.
Little swing
All
with
the
him.
best shots I've ever hit. Nobody's been around to see them. But I
That's
also
That's how
golf
it
by
be.
myself quite often.
well, there you go.
Austin, I've
So-
been waiting for you to bring your clubs over here so I can smash you on the greens real quick. He's just
We gotta get a
hesitant to
9
do it.
in.
He won't do it.
Nah.
He's scared. He won't do it.
Hey, meet me halfway, brother. Meet me halfway.
Okay, we'll meet halfway.
I mean,
There's a
we
course
have-
in Elizabethan.
We have a really good
That's what I'm
course around
talking
here. I'm
about.
just saying.
There's a good course halfway in between us.
All right.
Okay,
Elizabeth,
I'll set up the
Tennessee.
tea time.
I'll
And
see
I'm
you
gonna
there.
let you know.
So,
okay. Sounds good.
tis the season. Football finally started. First week of preseason football is starting now. So, great question for the boys. You know, obviously a big part of football culture is tailgating, and there's a big
Hell
debate
yeah.
right there going on what is the best thing to tailgate it. Do you have to have bratwurst? Is it just burgers? Is it steak, filet mignon? I mean, what is the best tailgate food? So I'll open it up to you guys. What do you think? What are you thinking tailgate wise? What's the best, the creme de la creme, best thing you can have?
I mean, growing up in Florida, the Miami games, you get a lot of flavor coming in there. Those Spanish people, they bring out that Jamaican looking drum. They start throwing tortillas and the vegetables and the meat, man. They spice it up just right. It's maybe the best thing I've ever had in my mouth.
Miami
See,
tailgate something different.
for
It
me,
really is.
I'm active at tailgates. Like I like to mingle and just talk to people and stuff. So like I'm all about like the finger foods. Like just give me like some chips, little sandwiches, maybe a hot dog, a burger's always good. Something, just one hand in it. Like of course I'm never
America.
gonna turn down ribs, but like you can't really sit there and talk to
Guts.
somebody with barbecue all over your face and a whole rib slab in your hands. Like so I mean, I'm all about the finger
hard with
foods.
the
Burger
jersey.
in one hand, beer in the other, you're good to go.
I feel like everybody, whenever they pull into the parking lot at the tailgate, you can smell the hero somewhere in that tailgate. The guy that's been there since 2 a.m., had his smoker going the whole time. He's got the pork butt just perfectly done right before kickoff. I think that guy is the smartest person on the planet because he said, I'm going to cook the thing that takes the longest, but is the best. I'm going to make some pulled pork sandwiches or whatever. I think that is absolutely the best. I've only found that guy at a couple tailgates. Whenever me and Austin were down in Miami this year, couldn't find that guy because we weren't at the real tailgate. We were some satellite lot that they were like building construction in, but that guy was at the real tailgate. He was there all day.
That's a season ticket holder right there.
Exactly.
That's commitment. The hero is making heroes.
Gyros.
Is it-
That's what I thought he was talking
I
about.
can
at first,
be
too.
your hero.
No, a hero is
baby.
another word for a sandwich. They call them
I can
heroes.
wash
Like
away
submarine.
your pain.
Submarine
Yeah.
sometimes called hero. Same thing. Depends on region.
Wow.
Now,
I could
learn
stay
something new every
like
day.
this forever.
something interesting. The Pro Football Pod is going to be going mobile this year. We're going to be doing some live events for the first time in our existence as a podcast. So we're looking for places to go. We're currently in like the southeast, but closer to like Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, like that little corner right there. So we're looking for some places to tailgate. I think that Tennessee's a team that we should absolutely see this year, even though last year was probably the best year to see them. But App State's supposed to be pretty good. And are there any other schools that you guys have been interested in looking into?
Oh, Knoxville's
Maybe
going to be
Clemson.
dope. I'm definitely down for Knoxville. Joe Milton, that dude's got a
boy.
cannon. That'd be awesome to see. App State, I've heard is always a good time. as far as the college route goes, and then I mean, any
Get
really
down there to
SEC
Alabama.
school, Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
I've been to Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is a great time.
It's a hard one to go to because it's so popular. But whenever Georgia plays at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they only play one game a year. I think they play FSU there or something like that because it's on like neutral ground because they're so
Yeah,
close to
they
each
always
other.
play like the Chick-fil-A kickoff or something.
So I think that would be a sick game to go to, but timing obviously is everything. I know that I'm likely going to be at a Miami Dolphins game this year. I may be running it solo, handing out the merch and saying hi to all the fans out there. But leave some comments down below on places you guys think we should visit. We're open to traveling and love to see some football games live.
Also love to see it from the couch.
Hey,
Hey, like I said, just mingle with people too. Sometimes you don't even need to go in the game. You just hang out at the tailgate. Somebody's got a TV going, so you're
exactly.
watching the game anyways, and you're honestly getting better angles depending on where your tickets were. So I mean, yeah, sometimes just staying at the tailgate's where it's at. You know, it just depends on the choices that you make that day, how you
Now
want to live your life.
this past Thursday was the Hall of Fame game. We got to see the Jets lose the first game of the season, so more to come.
Did they lose? I thought
Players
they won. Jets
No,
won
they
by 2.
lost.
they lost. They
They
lost
did
to the
lose.
Browns. The
Oh,
Browns are
okay.
better than the Jets.
I stopped
It's
watching at
official.
halftime, if we're being
Well,
honest. Like, I got what I
exactly.
needed out of the first half. Football's back, baby. All right. And then, like, let's move on. Which, Zach Thomas, you know, he was getting inducted the next day. So that's where really I was looking at was like the induction ceremony Saturday.
Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, and Darrell Revis is a hell of a class. Darrell Revis was the first ballot, and I think was Joe Thomas first ballot as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They
So-
both of them absolutely deserve first ballot. Like,
Absolutely. Joe Thomas was the prototypical left tackle for like 15 years.
He was
Always
the
played
first-
with the Browns. But
he was
like,
the first offensive lineman in history. Like, you've never seen that clip?
I've
have
never
you?
seen it.
No.
No.
It was on Monday Night Football one night. An ESPN graphic popped up and it said Joe Thomas, and then you know how underneath it'll say like from Wisconsin or
Yeah.
rookie
It said
season
first
or just
offensive lineman.
some little fun fact. It said first offensive lineman in NFL history, and that's all it said. So I mean, it's official. It's a ESPN fact. He was the first one in history. I mean, what he played 10,000 something straight snaps. Like, that's insane. Zach Thomas, we've already talked
And
about
you
it.
know
He was long
hurt.
awaited.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
he was hurt. There's
Yeah.
no way that you're not getting injured. You're just playing through it. That's why I have so much respect for Teron Armstead, because he's a coach on the field. Even whenever he's not playing, the offensive line looks better for the Dolphins. And whenever he is in, he's always hurt, but he's still fucking in. Now, we do have some Hall of Famers that are going to be coming in next year. These are all guys that it's going to be their first time on the ballot. Honestly, it's kind of a big list. I didn't expect to know this many of these players. Julius Thomas, Antonio Gates, Eric Berry. We are getting old, man.
That's what that means. We grew up watching all these people. Like, we're getting up there in age.
Now, so Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates, Eric Berry, Jamal Charles, Brandon Marshall, Pac-Man Jones, Jordy Nelson, and Andrew Luck. All of these guys are first ballot. Not all of them are going to make it to the Hall of Fame. Not even all of them could, and they always give a couple of older guys a chance as well. So I think right away, first ballot, Antonio Gates, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Hall of Fame career.
I think he gets it. Yeah.
Before Gronkowski, and even, I guess, wow, can't think of his name.
It was really like
Vernon
Tony
Davis.
Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp. Then Shannon
Vernon
Sharp
Davis.
retired, and then Antonio Gates came in, and then it was Tony Gonzalez,
Falcons,
Antonio
Tony
Gates, and
Gonzalez.
Jason Witten for a while. And so,
Yep.
but like for literally 10 years there, Antonio Gates was like a top 3 tight end every season in the NFL, especially fantasy wise.
I was gonna say he was a fantasy darling because fantasy tight ends weren't a thing then. You only had like one or two guys that ever had value, and it was all because of touchdowns, not because of volume. And he was gonna get volume. He got targets like as a tight end. It was crazy. I think another one,
He had a
Julius
great quarterback
Peppers.
throwing on the ball.
He did. Philip Rivers. I mean, Philip Rivers
Like
isn't going to be a
fed
first
him,
ballot Hall of Famer though. Like as great of
No,
a
and,
career
and
as he
like I didn't
had.
want to say he's a great quarterback, but like he's like that quarterback that just feeds tight ends in a way, you know.
Yeah,
He fed his
absolutely.
guys like
Yeah.
LT out of the backfield. He had Vincent
I mean, when
Jackson
you
back
have
in the
that,
day. Like no, I think David Boston was gone by that point. But still, like if you were his dude, like he absolutely like was giving you the rock. Did we lose you, Austin? Where'd your camera go?
yeah, I don't know what the fuck just happened.
We've got
Well,
Austin on the
try to.
audio still.
There we go. Try to get that fixed. So I think Eric Berry is not a first balloter. I want to say that he had so much impact in his career, though. The reason he's on this list is because of the cancer. A lot of people might not remember Eric Berry missed a couple seasons because of cancer or some
He was forced to
leukemia, something like
retire
that.
early. He came back. Now,
He
granted,
did,
he came
and
back.
he had a great season. He was
Yeah.
comeback player of the year after he came back. So I think that he was a great player. He's obviously not a first balloter. I
Not
think
first
the
ballot.
one that's the biggest on the fence for me that I think should get it is Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles was so prolific in his career. He does, I believe, have a championship. Didn't he get one on his next team? He didn't get it with the Chiefs, but I want to say that he was like a backup for whoever ended up winning the championship the next year. Similar to
See, I think for us though, Jamal Charles in the fantasy realm holds so much more
he
weight
was a
than
god.
Jamal Charles in the actual football realm because
He
like
was a god among men.
Jamal's one of those to where I don't know if he'll ever make it. And I'm saying this as well about like Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson had a great career, but and Deion Sanders broke it down this way too. When you think about the Hall of Fame, you're thinking about guys to where can you tell the story of the NFL from start to current without that person? And if the answer is yes, they're not a Hall of Famer.
That's
Like
why
so,
T.O.
I like
got
that.
so much
I like that
disrespect.
take.
well, you can't tell the story of the NFL without Terrell Owens. Like him coming in right behind Jerry and
Miss,
like just how
get your
brash
popcorn
and
ready.
exactly. Like that's the thing is like that. Yes, he had the mouth, but he also backed it up.
So Sut, I see what you're saying on it being hard to get a running back in right now just because of how the league views running backs. I think that it's how they currently view them, and Jamal Charles was one of the first receiving backs. I agree with you, Justin.
That's what I like.
You can tell the story without him, and he definitely wasn't the first or the best receiving back. I think Darren Sproles would easily get that, but he was a better back than Darren Sproles. He was a better player than Darren Sproles. He had a better career. I think in general, Jamal Charles is like you said, he's not going to make it this year. He's absolutely going to get the hate. I think that he deserves it though. I mean, maybe it's because he won me a championship legitimately by getting like 60 points in the final week because he had like I don't know like 5 touchdowns receiving in a game.
See, but
That's
you
some
look
Alvin
back at
Kamara
his
type
career,
shit.
Jamal Charles only had 5 seasons over 1,000 yards rushing. He only
But okay,
had
what was his
seven,
all-purpose though? Because again, we just
70.
talked about how he's not a rusher. He was one of those I'm gonna do it both guys.
Okay,
He's
so
basically Alvin
in the
Kamara.
same seasons he had over 1,000 yards rushing. Receiving, it was 272, 292, 468, 236, 693. 2013 was his insane fantasy season. And
Yep.
then 291. So, I mean, yes, he was effective receiving out of the backfield, but when you go back and look at the overall sum of his career, not hating on it, but it's not Hall of Fame worthy. 7,500 rushing yards throughout an entire career, 44 touchdowns. That's a great career. Like you had a great NFL career. Everybody knows who you
Who
are. But I don't know if you're making it to the Hall of Fame with that. And like I said, Jordy Nelson is the same thing. Jordy Nelson had what, 5 or 6 straight years of being a number one fantasy option for you at wide receiver simply
So then-
because of his production. And
So
I
then
don't
does
think
Jamal
he's worthy
Charles-
of the Hall of Fame.
Who was Jamal Charles' quarterback?
I mean,
Most of those
yeah,
years was
most of his
Alex
career.
Smith.
Yeah, Alex Smith.
I mean,
Okay, so then are you
it's
saying
just not the greatest
that,
production on offense.
Okay, so then are you saying that Antonio Brown wouldn't make it as a Hall of Famer without the whole going crazy and CTE bullshit?
No,
Definitely,
because
he
he was
definitely
Antonio
should.
Brown will.
He
Because-
was the most dominant guy, but he was only dominant for 5 or 6 seasons. I mean,
But that's the thing. He was number one for like 5 straight years. Like number one in every receiving category for 5 straight years. Jamal Charles was number one in rushing maybe one season. He had 1,500 yards, but even then, I don't know. Like,
he was number one in all-purpose more than once. I get what you're saying as a rusher, and that's where I hate a lot of like the way that the league views running back is they view them as a rushing back, and they're not. They are an out of the backfield back. They receive out of the backfield, they run out of the backfield, they do things out of the backfield, and I think that we have to start valuing them that way. Alex Smith
He's kind of
was
the-
solid as a game manager and producer. Produced
Kirk
hella
Cousins.
fantasy studs between the Chiefs and the Niners. Agreed. He was the game manager back then. Alex Smith was like that dude.
that's
He's
why
Kirk
Jamal
Cousins.
Charles was effective, because it was just dump off city. Like, oh, it's not there.
Oh.
Let me just dump it off real quick. Like, but again, and I agree with Sut there in the chat as well. I think out of those guys you named, Julius Peppers and Antonio Gates are the only ones worthy of first ballot. Now, when you get into like who can eventually make it, Andrew Luck should not even be on the list. The dude only
Nope.
played 86 total games. Like, yeah, he was set to be a Hall of Famer. Like his trajectory
Exactly.
was headed that way. But and obviously him ending his career tells you he doesn't really care about the Hall of Fame. So I mean, it'll get brought up.
He
It'll
would've
get
gave
talked
his
about
body
this year.
for
But
it.
after that, it'll be done. Like nobody will
Agreed.
really bring it up anymore because there's no need. He'll never get in.
Now with it being preseason right now, obviously teams are in a different state of mind than they are during the regular season. What are some things that teams are looking for right now? Like what are they looking at as like their biggest value points?
Injuries. You want to see healthy players out there, not getting banged up. You know, it sucks seeing these players like coming out and just getting rocked and nicked, and they're always dealing with the trainer. You don't like to see that for your team. You can't have confidence going into the season like that.
I think the main thing you're looking for is consistency. Like you want to
like
see
that.
that learning and that progression out of your young guys that you're bringing in that are learning the new system themselves. Also, these teams with first-time head coaches, or like us with the Dolphins, you've got Mike McDaniel on his second year. How is the team looking? How are they progressing in year number 2? Like, so you're looking at that progression, that development, the consistency. These teams aren't running like their actual playbooks. It's very vanilla, just very basic as to what their concepts are, to make sure, honestly, like, are you paying attention? Are you working hard? Is that effort there on film?
I mean,
If
I
you're
hope
making a
that at this
mistake, are
point-
you learning from it? Like, it's just the little things.
I hope that at this point, all the professionals that like are getting their chance, the ones that are good enough to not have to play in the XFL or the AFL, like the ones that are at the best of the best, I hope that trying and like effort isn't the issue. I feel like coaches right now have to be looking at fundamentals and just like how much are they trying to do? Are they trying to do more than they're capable of? And I can't trust them to just do the thing that they need to do. And I feel like because it's so early in the preseason, just how people are tackling, where they're setting up, knowing positioning, that type of stuff, I feel like that's got to be really drilled in because that's Bill Belichick's whole thing, dude. For 20 years, I heard him talk about how all I care about is the fundamentals. We just gotta tackle better. If we just tackle better, we'll win more football games. And then they did. So
We're trying to watch the F-bombs, coach. Come on now.
I know.
Drop
so,
and give me 25.
It's got to be super frustrating though for these players though. Like they're like the players that need to make the team, like they're trying to show out in practice, but like you got to hold back, and
But
like it's
that's
actually good to hold back. Like it shows the coach, you know.
Yeah, like, are you playing within the system? Are you playing in the scheme? Like, are you leaving, if you're a defensive lineman, are you leaving a linebacker out high and dry because all you're focused on is getting to that quarterback? You're not worried about your gap or where you're shedding the offensive lineman
Just
to.
trying to make
Like,
a highlight reel.
exactly. So, I mean, it's those things to where everything in football is a chain reaction. Like, if the cornerback does something wrong, that's going to affect what's going to happen to that safety or to that linebacker closest to them. Like, everything's going to affect somebody else. So, like, it's the matter of, can you play in the system? Are you going to make stupid mistakes that hurt the team? And like I said, number one is, if you do make mistakes and we give you the opportunity, how do you learn from that mistake?
Exactly.
It all starts with quarterback. Who do you boys think is going to be the best quarterback in this division? AFC North.
This is a hard one because of Watson, Lamar, and Burrow. Obviously, Pickett's not anybody's pick.
Whoa.
Don't
I mean,
sleep on
for
50, man.
best
For
quarterback in this
best,
division,
no.
I think
Yeah, I
that
feel
he's
you.
going to be a solid guy, but I think that there's
Someday.
real talent above him. Like Pickett, okay, Pickett getting Darnell Washington, like, okay, that's big. Like that could end up totally changing their offense. But I don't know if this running back that they have, what was his name from last
Jalen
year?
Warren?
Warren, yeah. I don't know if he's, going to be a Le'Veon Bell all of a sudden, and their offensive
They
line
still
still
got
had some
Najee.
problems,
Yeah,
and
they still got Najee.
yeah, I guess. He got
Yeah.
he's been having an okay season. So my pick, I'll go first. I think that it's easy to say Burrow. I think Watson's he needs to have people around him. He's not a guy that can do it by himself, and Burrow has a bunch of people around him already. As far as supporting staff goes, the Bengals are absolutely the best roster. So the easiest path to being the best quarterback is Joe Burrow as well.
Austin
I mean,
clearly agrees with you.
no, I don't actually, but everyone does want to play with Burrow, and so that's very interesting. Like he's only played 2 seasons, and he's gone to an AFC Championship and a Super Bowl. So like, no knock on the guy, but like he is on a great path. I just think Lamar is the better quarterback still, just because of what he can do with his legs still. And Deshaun's right there after him. I mean, like no knock
Really,
on
you're going to give
Deshaun.
Deshaun number 2?
Bro, we've seen not two, but like he's just a close third. Like those three are just that division is going to be crazy this year to watch.
See, for me, like, it's very tough. It's more along just because they're so different in how they play, Burrow and Lamar. It's just
Mhm.
more of like, which one's more your cup of tea? Like, because
Yeah,
they can both take over a game. And I mean, if
See,
need be,
Burrow is just more my cup of tea.
Burrow can scoot for about 10 yards or so. And I love Lamar's game and stuff.
Need it.
But when it comes down to it and you take Lamar's option to either throw or run the ball away, then what do you do? And my thing is 9 times out of 10, you always know Burrow's going to throw the ball, and he's still averaging about 280 yards passing a game. So that's to me what gives Burrow the edge. But then again, like, you give Lamar some healthy weapons for a change,
like they have.
and it very well could be different.
And
Uh,
Burrow's already starting off with an injury. This is, I mean, we just talked about he's only played 2 seasons. Like he was injured his first season. He came off of that ACL tear and crushed it. But like, I mean, he's already got dealing with injuries. I'm just like, if he does that throughout the year, it's going to be terrible to say like, oh, this guy's going to be the best quarterback in the division if he can't even finish the year.
I
Same goes
think
for
that
Lamar.
we
They're all injury prone.
I think we use that as a perfect segue to start talking about the Bengals. Burrow is quarterback for ADP 33, so you're having to take him in the third round to be able to get him.
That's
And he's the fourth quarterback going off the board in the third round. So fantasy football is very different than it was even 5 years ago, where there was only one or two quarterbacks going in the first 4 or 5 rounds. I think that it's still a trap. Burrow's going to be great if you can get him and Higgins or him and Chase. Like you're going to get this. I mean, you could get the same thing 4 rounds later with another team. they're a team that's going to have phenomenal stats, but they're not going to have 10,000 yards more than everybody else in the AFC North. And Pickett's quarterback 21, which is crazy to me. Crazy with how much their
I think
offense
that's a
just
nice
improved.
sleeper. That's a hell of a good sleeper right there.
I mean, but see, Burrow, like 4,500 yards, 280 yards a game, 35 touchdown to 12 interceptions, 100, right at 101 quarterback rating. I mean, I don't see Burrow's thing changing very much, but his calf injury, like how effective, it's not even really at the beginning of the season here. Is that going to linger throughout the year? Like, is that going to be something that could pop up and become worse down the line? Or is it more just just a regular strain, just out of the box, and he's back to it? So
that's where it's weird to say, but in a lot of ways, concussions are so much better of an injury. You know that they're going to be gone for a week or two, but then they're going to come back fully 100%. That they're not going
unless
to
you're
be.
Tua,
Well, that takes 3 weeks because
5
the
weeks.
NFL.
yeah, the
So
NFL hated on him with that.
yeah,
But no, I agree. His hit where he's going, like his ADP of round 3, that is too rich. Like for me, I don't really typically like taking quarterbacks that high unless you're just. I mean, Pat Mahomes is honestly probably the only one I would take that high, just simply because the dude plays almost a full season every season, and
Yep.
he's the top quarterback every season. Like he's the one to where it's just you can't really be mad if somebody takes him because it's just like, okay, it makes sense.
Did you see that clip of the AFC Championship game after he messed up his ankle and they wanted to take him out before halftime to just like get x-rays? Like, hey man, we just want to know what the deal is. And he was like a 10-year-old. No, I
Yeah.
don't want to go out. I'm staying in. No. And he like kept just like, dude, I've never seen somebody want to play more. I would follow that guy into the gates of hell. So I mean, I think
That's
that his team would do the same.
absolutely that's what you want to see out of your quarterback is like, no, bitch, this is my team. This is what I'm doing. Like, I'm running this show. If we're going to make it, it's going to be because I did it. I've done it all season. Like, yeah, absolutely. You want to be the one to do that, like finish it out and everything.
And
So,
he's
I
going to
mean,
be like that in
what
week
you want?
5. He's going to be like that in week 15. So that's
Mm-hmm.
just who Pat Mahomes is. I like you said, Austin points out a great thing. Burrow's already been hurt. He's now got an injury in his legs again. So there's a
Can
lot
we
of questions though.
Can we discuss why it's not talked about Burrow's injury history when in the same draft class, and this isn't even me saying it as a Dolphins fan, but because they were drafted the same year, how Tua is under such a microscope for his injuries, yet Burrow, it never gets talked about.
Because I bring up good points about Burrow. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to an AFC
Yes,
Championship. Like,
okay. He has been there, but if
merits,
also the dude
merits.
every other season is dealing with injuries and stuff like that, you've still got to talk. The best ability is availability, and if he's not having the
Hey,
availability, then what are we talking about here? I understand what you're saying. And there's nothing you can take away from that. He has shown when he's on the field, it is no
He's
issue at all. But the same thing goes for Tua. Tua's shown you when he's on the field, it's no issue. So my thing is it just the microscope is how much the media has put the microscope on because of the concussion stuff versus, oh, well, it's an ACL or it's a calf injury. You can do that walking to the car grabbing groceries. Like,
I think
so
that it's
why
simple.
is Burrow's injuries not talked about?
He's viewed as more durable because he's bigger. Tua's always going to be viewed as this guy
Okay.
that can get hurt because he's smaller. That's what it is. And that's why he's got to do things like the judo. And he's going to get constantly asked about it all season. So, did you do anything with it? Has it been helping? And it's like, it already has. I don't know if you saw the, Justin, the interview with Mike, but Tua did like a backflip. Somebody like accidentally like ran into him, and the guy did like a back somersault, like back handspring, and like caught himself. Like it was
Yeah, just like
a
a nice little
fall.
back roll and push
But
yourself up smoothly.
well,
yeah.
no,
But
a
better than
handspring.
what you
It was
want.
a
Yeah.
handspring, like not like
See, I
like a
haven't.
gymnastics move.
Nobody's actually put out video, so until I actually see a handspring popping off after
He
like
wanted people to
rolling back
know
on somebody,
that he wasn't doing a back flip, that it wasn't like a no hand flip, that it was a controlled fall, and that he did a back handspring. That's how he put it.
if
So
he pulls a back handspring in the middle of a game this year,
hey, I'm gonna love it.
go ahead and hand him the MVP.
There we go. So
On my
let's not spend too much time
on my point about Burrow, like he got hit by Chase Young. You know, that's a
Jamar Chase
monster of a
Young?
man. No, just Chase Young. He got hit by Chase Young. You know, and he was scrambling, running to the goal line. Like he was actually running. And so he knows better than to do that now. Tua was in the backfield and stuff like that of him getting rushed. Y'all got to work on that offensive line, that protection, work on that wall.
You're preaching to the choir there, brother. So what about these other players? Let's dive into them. Like Joe Mixon. I mean,
running back 15.
So he's taking a pay cut just to be with Joe.
And
Burrow.
he's running back 15. That's not bad, dude. I like his positioning. He's going to finish top 10 again if they feed him like they did last year. I know that they got this backup that they just drafted, and people thought he was going to take Joe Mixon's job and that he was going to be off the roster. And that's where
good
him
to see,
taking a
though.
pay cut, he means he wants to be there. So I think that they continue to feed him, certainly.
Maybe it's like
I
a
love his
Zeke and
draft
Pollard
spot.
aspect.
Now,
Yeah.
Chase, ADP 4, wide receiver 2. Expectations minus reality is going to lead a lot of people down the wrong path on this one. I think that he could finish as the wide receiver 2. But if he finishes as the wide receiver 4, then you just wasted a draft pick. Like
That's where I'm drafting
how
him.
high you're drafting him.
I'm drafting him 2 overall, but since the Burrow injury, I feel like he's dropped down to 4 in the ADP. Like because him and Jefferson are neck and neck. I don't know how you could view them differently.
See,
I guess because
going
T. Higgins
into
there.
this, I had Jefferson clearing away like the number 1 over Chase. But like looking back at Chase's season, 134 targets, 87 receptions, 1,000 yards, 12 yards per catch, 87 yards per game, and 9 touchdowns. He did that in 12 games. That's a full season stat line for a good handful of wide receiver ones on teams out here. And he did that in 12 games. So my thing is, you correlate it to 17 games. You're looking at a 1,700 yard, 14 touchdown season. Like that's wide receiver 1 status for fantasy right there. So, I mean, it's a matter of how many games can he play and how many games is he able to get with Joey B as well. Like like you said, Austin, Joe Burrow not being out there for him, if he misses any time, that, Chase is Chase, you're going to have to start him, but it's going to hurt his value.
That's one of the biggest things I preach in fantasy is like the 3rd year wide receivers. Like that's when they pop off. That's when they shine. So and you have Jamar Chase
best in the league. That's their chance.
That's the perfect opportunity. Like
Chase had a better season last year than T. Higgins, and T. Higgins played 4 more games.
It's very simple, right? If you're at the top of the first round and you're in a position to draft a guy like this, you have to take them. That's why I prefer to draft around 5 or 6 in a 10 or 12 team, because I don't have to make the decision. I let somebody else take this, and I just get to get a slightly safer option. And I just think that if like Eckler's still on the board and Chase is there at 4, I'm going to take Eckler. Like, I think that it's a little bit crazy to take Jamar Chase and expect him to have the type of value because of it being the wide receiver position. The simple truth is that the wide receiver 50 and the running back 50 is a totally different landscape. You can't get anybody after running back 25 and even put him on your roster. But wide receiver 25 is going in like the 5th round. So you kind of have to. That's my thing.
And different guys pop off every other week for wide receiver.
And that's why I said I love Mixon's where he's going as his ADP, like where you can get him running back 15. I mean, Hell, dude, you're able to build out most of your roster, and he'll end up being running back 1 for you easily. Like, so,
Easy.
yeah, it's stuff like that to where, yes, you can wait on a running back, but like you said, I mean, if you've got somebody like Austin Eckler that falls in your lap, but even then, like where you mentioned Chase, expect a little bit of a drop off. I think the same with Austin Eckler this year. Like, he led the league in touchdowns last year, but I don't know if that's going to happen again this year. Like, I don't know if he'll get close.
Now on
I
the
think
opposite,
they definitely have the best wide receiver trio in the league, though. On the
and that's
Bengals.
what I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Higgins value at wide receiver 13, ADP 31. Love it. Absolutely love it. You get him right before you get Mixon. He's just like he's holding that value at that spot. That's right where Waddle's going. I like a lot of those wide receivers. That's where for me, I'm really trying to take running back in the first round so that I can try to stack up on some of these mid-tier guys and win the league off of them playing way better than their average ADP.
Oh, if you can get Eckler early and then somehow get a wraparound with your next 2 picks and get like Garrett Wilson and Jalen Waddle, that you're hitting a home run on your draft right there.
Yeah,
I like that
that's
one a lot.
phenomenal. Now
That's
Irv
beautiful.
Smith, tight end 26.
Been
Tight
looking
ends
good
aren't
in
going to
camp.
have they're not
He's
going to
been
have
looking
any
good in
real
camp.
value in this league. In this team, a tight end's not going to have too much value just because of the amount of mouths to feed.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Kelce
Now,
is the mouth to feed, and then everyone else gets fed after him. That's how it's going to be for Jamar Chase, Higgins, Boyd, and Mixon, and then Irv Smith's just going to get whatever's left over. So
Or
he's
red
going to be
zone
a good
targets.
streamer, and I like him in the red zone for getting some touchdowns. He might get 6 or 8 touchdowns this year.
For our betting people out there, anytime touchdowns for Irv Smith Jr., guaranteed you're going to get those at like plus 3,500 value almost every week. And I would not be shocked to see him finish the year with like 7 touchdowns. Maybe only like 400 receiving yards, but 7 touchdowns. Like, yeah, he's just coming out of Alabama. I loved his makeup, like just his athletic ability, like what he showed at Alabama. It just never really clicked and worked out for him. He wasn't able to stay healthy in Minnesota. And so, they cut ties, they got rid of him. And this could be like, hopefully a new place for him to where he's coming in and he knows, look, I'm the 4th or 5th guy, like you just said. And he's not expected to do these things. So all it is really everything for him is a bonus. I mean, shit, Hayden Hurst came to the Bengals, played 1 season, and then turned it into a $35 million contract.
And don't forget about Thaddeus Moss sitting back there. The
is he still
aspects,
there? I thought he got
he's
cut.
still there.
As you guys can tell, these guys have been playing in a dynasty league for the last couple of years. They know every tight end in the league because if you don't got one of them, then you don't got none of them.
You gotta have 3 of them.
Seriously. So let's move on to the Ravens real quick so we don't have to talk about the third tight end for the Bengals. Lamar, quarterback 5, ADP 36.
Stud.
Same exact conversation as Burrow, except for Austin's massive point that he made earlier, the legs. This guy's legs are going to mean that he's going to way outperform Burrow, in my opinion, as a fantasy quarterback, so he should be going before Burrow, probably quarterback 3 for me in fantasy, just because of the legs. Lamar's got the best legs, best opportunity for that to be his strength. J.K. Dobbin, running back 24. What do you guys think about that? I'm kind of liking it.
See,
that's scary.
It is, but like I was telling y'all pre-show, if you go and look at the stats for the Ravens last year, just look at the amount of people that played and took a snap or like got a carry at running back or got
running
a catch.
backs before the season.
So many.
Before
Dobbins
the
only
season
played
started.
8 weeks. Gus Edwards only played 9 weeks. Kenyon Drake, I think, played 12. Lamar only played 12. Rashad Bateman only played 7. Like, their top dudes were barely on the field last year. Like, hot take for me this season is the Ravens are winning this division because that injury bug is not going to hit them again. And I think the Bengals might be set for like maybe a little bit of a lull. Like the last 2 years, the Super Bowl, AFC Championship just couldn't come on top. You're expecting some bit of maybe a drop back, a little bit of, disappointment. And I think the Ravens are coming in to immediately step up in there because they're going to have a healthy squad. They added new weapons for Lamar this year. Lamar over instead of Burrow is worthy of his draft slot. I would take Lamar in the 3rd round easily.
I want to
Because
say
those-
J.K. Dobbins this is his 3rd season as well, and it's like we were talking about with Chase.
wide receiver.
I want to say because last
I
year
think
was
it's
his
his
2nd
4th.
season. Is it?
Dobbins, Dobbins,
was
I
he
think.
in-
Dobbins is on
I
4
want
now?
to say he came in the same year as Tua and Burrow. I want to say it's his 4th.
Okay.
He
Either
just
way,
has been injured quite a bit.
so
Yeah.
that's my point. I like taking Dobbins at 24. I'm 100% going to handcuff him with Gus Edwards. And if somebody else takes Dobbins before I see the value, I'm still going to steal Gus Edwards from them. Gus Edwards has been one of my easy, like, I'm just going to grab this running back and he's going to continuously get value because when everyone else goes down, he's there. He's rarely hurt. He's big. He loves to get touchdowns. So
And Harbaugh
he's gonna
trusts him.
exactly. He's gonna hurt Dobbins' overall value. That's why you're getting him at running back 24. But I still think he's a top 20 running back easily. And with the way that his boom was last year, in a couple of games, he showed that he could have been the best running back for the week. I love having a player like that. That's something I want in my team. Bateman, wide receiver 55, lots of value. OBJ, wide receiver 42, and Zay Flowers, wide receiver 48. I think that all three
Flowers.
of these wide receivers have value. I can't believe Bateman is the one that has the least. That he's the one going last. Like, that blows my mind. I know he hasn't done much in his career, but he definitely has the most opportunity for touchdowns, for big, long plays. That's him. That's going to be him all day. And I think that Lamar opens that up so much because of his value.
Justin's been preaching about Zay Flowers ever since like draft and the college days, but like that boy is a speedster for real. He put up some nice muscle. He looks like a real nice studly wide receiver in this NFL now.
Oh, he's been balling in camp. Like it's no shock to me that like OBJ's obviously he's gonna be the number 1 guy going for him just because of the name. And I mean, if he's healthy, you almost have to. But I understand Zay going before Bateman because Bateman has shown that he can't stay on the field for a full season. When he's out there, hasn't really been the most productive. And so, I mean, for me, why not take the young guy with the more juice to him and expected to run more of that slot and that take the top off Hollywood Brown role that, Lamar's been missing since Hollywood left. And so, yeah, I love Zay. ADP 119. So 10th, 11th, 12th round, you're able to snatch him up. Like, absolutely. And then Mark Andrews on their ADP 25, tight end number 2 overall. He's another one. Like, you can't be mad if somebody snatches him up, and like you can't really say anything to him because he's kind of like Kelsey. He is the target monster. He by far had the most targets on the team last year. Didn't matter which quarterback was in.
I wonder if Odell hurts him. That's my big plan. My big concern with taking him that early is that like Travis Kelce has nobody else on the team at this point still. And like Odell Beckham, like you just said, is a number 1 receiver. He should be getting 10 or 12 targets a game. That means that there's not going to be 8 to 10 going to Mark Andrews. He's sure-handed, but if he doesn't get touchdowns, which has been a problem for him in his career, I think that that's my issue with that early.
I feel like all I see is Mark Andrews touchdowns. Like,
I
feel like that's all I see is just him.
He only had 5 last year, which actually shocks me because, like you said, I feel like he's scoring like every week.
It's because he's such high volume. High volume.
Which, I mean, he's a great red zone target. So, like, why would you not target him every time you're down there?
So sure, the soft hands, man. That guy it looks like he's never gonna not catch it. If it's thrown in his vicinity, like he's just got such soft hands for catching it. I think if I could get him at beginning of the third round, I'd like that because I could at least have my running back and wide receiver. Now I have one of the best tight ends as
He
my
would
third
be the best
position.
tight end if Kelsey wasn't in the league. Like if he
Exactly.
retired, like it's Andrews next up.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steelers. Pretty
Yeah, the Steelers.
pretty underwhelming. If we're being
What the
honest, not a
fuck?
lot
No, bro,
expected
come
from
on.
this team, dude. Not a lot
Bro,
expected.
you're not watching enough
No,
camp,
I
bro.
think
This is
they're-
one
I
of the
think-
this is one of the most electric teams coming out of camp right now.
I've
Have you
seen
not
the
seen
camp footage.
Pickens?
I've seen
You
it.
not, bro.
Him
This
and
dude is insane.
him and Porter. I saw it. I saw
Pickens.
the
Pickens better watch it though, because dude, he's gonna get a lot of offensive pass
You
interference
seen
thrown
that?
on him.
You
He
seen him
pushes
throwing
off
his hands
quite a
around?
bit.
Yeah,
Quite a bit.
he's
But still,
handsy.
I expect big things out of Pickens this year. I think Pickens is going to be
Yes.
solid. Like, I mean,
at wide receiver 35. I think you're getting a lot of value from
85?
Pickens.
you snatch him up in the 7th round, that's technically a reach, but I don't see that as a reach at all. You've got your
Not at
whole
all.
starting lineup filled out by then mostly.
Nice
And
flex.
Pickens is just, you're throwing that on top. And then the next round, you pick up Pat Fryermuth for your tight end. And then you're able to grab Darnell Washington
Easy.
at like the last pick because of his injury. He's just not.
Are
going
you gonna
early.
go with the Muth again this year? Like
I
Hell
will
yeah.
never go against the Muth.
I don't know, dude.
That's
He's
a Mark
30
Andrews on his
To
way
me,
up.
I'm taking the Muth. Like now, if you're giving me like Pat Fryermuth or somebody like the rookie like Sam Laporta for the Lions this year, that's hard for me to decide to. Now, both Iowa tight ends, but
You're gambling on
I
one.
think Laporta might end up with more possible opportunities than Fryermuth.
I could see that. I mean, there's so many less
Because-
But
mouths to
Pickett
feed
trusts him.
in
He shows
the
that he
Steelers.
trusts Pat.
Yeah.
Like he has no problems targeting him 7 to 8 times a week. And for fantasy for your tight ends, that's what you want. Opportunities. Give me
Targets.
the targets.
Hey, all I care about is targets.
It's
I
the
don't
kind of
hate
quarterbacks that just feed tight ends.
it. ADP 91, tight end 10. I don't hate it. And like that's if I took my tight end or if I'm planning on taking another guy a little bit later. We've already talked about some guys to take like even after Pat Fry. Pairing those guys up, I don't hate it. It's just man, somewhere in between ADP 25 and ADP 91, I'm trying to get my tight end, and I really don't want to wait for someone like Pat Fry to maybe be one of those guys. I want
I think
the
that's
5th
one of the
tight
golden
end
tickets.
who's gonna be the 3rd, or the 3rd who's gonna be the 2nd. I honestly want Goddard this year. Everyone in my draft, if you're listening to this, don't draft Goddard because I want him instead.
Drafting Goddard.
That's a top 3 tight end right there.
It is, and
It
I'm
is.
probably going to reach for him because everyone's going to be taking this guy in the 2nd round. You'll be able to get Goddard in the 3rd, and he's going to be so solid.
What do you think about Najee's ADP? 29, running back 13.
Running back 13 is because of his injuries last year. I don't hate it.
And the draft.
I feel like this is a position where I'm going to take Najee if I wasn't able to take a running back in the first 2 rounds. And like it's the beginning of the 3rd and I have a wide receiver and a running back and like my running back is not very good. I need someone else to maybe be the guy. At least Najee's the number 1 and Warren is not taking that much from him. He is a better receiving back, I believe, but he's not taking that much. I just think it's funny that they took him
Najee does well in the
19th
receiving
overall.
game.
He's good. He's just I think Warren's better.
And I think
that's
getting
why
better.
they use him.
Mm.
Now Deontay Johnson he's just been this trap
been there
for the
for
last
a
couple of
little bit.
years, man. Like,
Yeah.
but if you take him
But
at
he
wide
gets fed
receiver
over
18
10
or 20,
targets.
like he's been, I think the wide receiver 33 though is kind of where he should have been falling the last couple of years. I don't think that that's a trap. I think that that's real value. At this point,
I see it as value. I mean, the dude really does.
He's had
10
an
targets a
issue with
game.
drops.
Yes, but he's also been trying to work on that his whole career. So like, and 10 targets, like this was 10 catches. It's on 17 targets, but like still gets 10 catches for you. and he does stuff with them.
He's a target monster, but
He
I
really
think
is.
Pickens
One of the biggest in the
does
league.
eat into him a lot this year, which
He should.
Pickens is wide receiver 35, so he's right there with Deontay. So if I'm having to choose between the two, I'm taking Pickens.
Yeah. I
exactly.
just think that Deontay's finally at his value point. He was wide receiver like 18 or 20 last year, and the year before that he was like 15 because he did look solid, but he was never enough. And I think that this is a year that's worth taking him, probably the 8th, 9th round, something like that. I think he's
the
going to
Steelers
fall
are really
even
going to.
past this.
I think the Steelers are going to surprise you. This, to me, is the best division in football, and I think all 4 of these teams could end up making the playoffs, like straight up. It's like when we break down each position, like these positions are so talented, it's insane.
The tight ends do win the championships, and I hope that Pickett shocks me, Scotty J. I do. My expectation is for him to be the 4th best quarterback in this division, and I think that the Steelers are going to be the 4th best team. Now, that's because I like to see the value in the players. The Steelers have always had this like undeniable ability to be great, even with nobody. All of a sudden, Emmanuel Sanders is a Pro Bowler, and like he was nothing before, and like
Their
now
wide
he is.
receiver development is the
It's just
best
so good.
wide receiver development in the entire
Ever.
league.
Everybody
Straight
just literally takes their scraps every year. Their
And
scraps
they
are
never
getting
work
picked up
out,
elsewhere.
like Mike Wallace.
As you guys are
Emmanuel
talking about
Sanders worked
that,
out.
this man's yet to have a losing season, correct? Like
Mike Tomlin,
so
he don't lose.
you believe that they're going to be 4th into the division? So you're saying everyone's going to have a winning season?
I think that the Browns have a better roster. I think the Browns have been held back by coaching, and
You're
if they
saying all
can
4
not
teams
do
will
that
have
this year,
I think
a
this is going to
winning
be one of the
division? Like
most competitive divisions in the NFL this year. Like
this
week in and week.
and the
I
AFC
think
East.
I think
are
you
the
could
2.
see all 4 of these teams going a matter of anywhere between 8-9 or 9-8, all the way up to like 11-5, and like
Now,
they
I
could
think
all finish within that range.
I think
Straight
by
up.
week 5, we're going to realize that 2 of these teams are pretenders, and that 2 of them just aren't going to be able to work out. And it could be the
That's
Steelers
a
and the
fair
Browns.
take.
It could
That's
be
a
the
fair take.
Ravens and the Browns. It could be the Ravens and the Steelers. I don't think it's going to be the Bengals. I think that they're not pretenders. They've proven beyond a doubt that they have a roster. But I still think that the Steelers have the worst roster of all these players. It's not even a fantasy thing. Like their defense is probably way better, but their offense is going to struggle.
We
See,
just
but
went
that's
over
where
their offense. They got all this talent, man.
I think that's where for fantasy you're looking at some, garbage time stuff here to where throughout the game maybe the offense isn't necessarily able to put up the points and the defense is putting up a fight, and then turn around in the 4th quarter and all of a sudden Kenny Pickett's got you 17 points because he also had to scramble for 45 yards and a touchdown. So I mean, like there are positive aspects to the Steelers this year, and the Steelers are like they go hand in hand with the Ravens with me of just a solid organization, great coaching up and down, and you really can't go wrong with like any of their players, but like you just absolutely you don't want to reach because I mean you're not going to take Kenny Pickett and like the 12th round and hope that he's going to be your quarterback 1 this season. That's not happening.
Nope. I think you put it perfectly. You're going to get a lot of garbage time. I think that 3 or 4 years ago, what the Bengals were is what we can expect from the Steelers this year. That's my expectation. Now, the Steelers, again, they're one of the best coach teams in football. I think they're the 2nd best coach team to the Ravens. So how does a really good coach team lose? They don't. They don't generally. They win a lot of games. So they're probably not going to lose too much, but they are going to be in a lot of close ones.
Speaking of close ones,
The
Cleveland Browns.
Let's go ahead and talk about
like
the
that.
stinkers, the big old stinkers. So Watson, quarterback 9, honestly solid value. It's crazy to say, but he works with his legs. He throws with his arm. he does it all. So I
He
think
really
that
is a solid quarterback.
he doesn't
Now,
have too many targets. That's a problem. But
see
I mean,
what
well, it's not the scariest thing though, because you don't really know who he's throwing the ball to. He does have talent over there, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, but like he doesn't have the shiny guys, the shiny toys to play with.
it's not a
Amari
horrible
Cooper had
roster.
a great season last year.
No, he
Yeah.
did, but it's not like I mean he is one of the best route running receivers in the league. So
No,
you
with
can't knock that.
Deshaun, you're just hoping that the 6 games he played last year was just a complete sign of rust and him being suspended, not being able to be in the facility at all until his suspension was lifted. Like all of those things playing into it. I mean, 79.1 quarterback rating, 175 rushing yards, rushing touchdown, only 183 yards passing per game. But those first couple games, they were really just leaning on the run and easing him into it super slow. They were out of the playoff race. So, like, it was more of just let's kind of get him into the flow of everything. So that's what you're hoping last year was. For me, it's one of those to where in a redraft league, just a 1 year and done with it. Deshaun scares the shit out of me because you're taking a risk of if you draft him in that spot, you're drafting him as your QB1. And what if those 6 games weren't just a little bit of rust? It was, oh, hey, there's kind of something here with Deshaun, at least as of right now.
So the
I
reason
think
I'm not too
I think
worried.
it's more scary with Russell Wilson, what we saw out of him.
See, I'm not as scared
so
about Russ.
Russ was going as like quarterback 4 or 5 though, and underperformed last year. I think that quarterback 9, you could easily get quarterback 11 or 12, and one of those two guys should at least be a solid guy. Quarterback is such a weird position because the difference between quarterback 1 in points, like of the whole season, and quarterback 10 is like a 50-point differential compared to running back and wide receiver, where there's these massive differences between the best of the best and the middle tier guy. So I'm not so afraid because Watson can run the ball and get a point for every 10 yards rushing. And he can also throw the ball and get the touchdowns. He's got red zone targets. Nick Chubb is going to vulture a lot away from him, but that's his biggest issue is that Nick Chubb doesn't catch the ball. That's the only issue that he really has because he does have 2 solid receivers and a good tight end.
And they brought in Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore has
Okay.
got talent. Elijah Moore's rookie
Yep.
year, he was very solid for the Jets.
I
Like
like
with
him as a
Zach
receiver.
Wilson throwing him the ball. And
Yeah,
they
very
drafted
talented.
Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee this year. Cedric Tillman is smooth with it. Like he showed a little bit in this last preseason game. I mean, granted, Hall of Fame game, first game, not much is getting done, but I mean, Cedric Tillman, you watch if I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down to it and he actually ends up taking the spot from Elijah Moore as that number 3 guy.
that would be so rough for him after Garrett Wilson just did it to him, and then this guy
Straight
comes
up.
in and
Straight
takes
up,
it
bro.
again.
Oh, it
Like,
would.
Because
It would.
if you watch him talk, like he just seems like a dude. Like and him playing,
But
he is
his
a
thing
baller,
though
bro.
is
He was on the Jets though.
he's smaller too though. Like he's a smaller
Yeah.
wide receiver, so he's really
Okay,
just
says the
that
one
inside
says
guy.
the Miami Dolphin guy. Says the Dolphin guy. You got the shortest receivers in the league. Come on now.
Yeah, but he ain't
they're
got that
the
Tyreek or
fastest
Waddle speed.
receivers
Yeah,
in the
that's
league.
the thing.
Elijah
They're
Moore can get the
fastest.
book in
they're
his play.
Indy cars out there, Formula One cars.
Damn right. Send both them on a seam route. What you gonna do?
So
Exactly.
Elijah Moore, wide receiver 54, Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver 68. I think it's funny that
Whoa,
that
that's
Elijah
very
Moore's
interesting.
valued as higher than him. You're basically getting Donovan Peoples like after the draft. Like ADP 203 means that he's not being drafted. So I think that as my last pick, I like somebody like him. I'm more so gonna keep my eye on him. Week 1, week 2, I'm looking on taking somebody like that as my waiver wire, unless there's like some running back that got hurt and like the next guy up is gonna be a stud.
See, I love Donovan Peoples-Jones last year for betting purposes because you could get him at like 25 plus yards at like minus 140 almost every week. And as soon as you bet it, he would catch a 27-yard pass. It was the greatest bet.
That's
Like
all he
every
would
game
catch.
last year. I'm telling you, I did it when he played the Dolphins. Like I was like, I know he's gonna get one deep shot, and he did 45-yard catch right off the bat, and boom, bet hit. We're out of there with money. Like so yes, he doesn't have. I think for him, his value is he only had 3 touchdowns last year in a full 17 games played, and for
Browns didn't
his
score
size
much,
and
and
ability,
it's the 2
you're
running
looking
backs.
you're looking at that more.
Well,
Yeah, but still, I mean, Cooper had
did
9
y'all hear?
touchdowns, and Njoku had 4 touchdowns. Like, so I mean, there were passes to be had there,
I'm
and
just saying,
I just think
Chubb and Kareem Hunt was where most of those touchdowns on the team were going.
yeah, red zone.
Kareem
You're
not
giving
being
it to
there
them.
helps a lot. Chubb is still going to vulture a lot from the team, and running back 5, ADP 14, you have to take Chubb. Chubb is a guy that it doesn't matter where he's being drafted, he's just so safe. He is a running back, the most
best.
pure in the league. Most pure in the league.
Thank you. The
Most
best
yards after
running
contact.
back. Like he's the best running back in the league. And with
Has
Kareem
been
Hunt, did you guys hear
since he was out of Georgia, right? Isn't that where he
Yes,
played?
sir.
Yeah.
Did you hear
was a
about Kareem
beast
Hunt
there.
visiting the Saints?
Saints, which is huge.
With
They're missing
Kamara.
3 games. Yep.
That's not that many games though to be bringing in a back like Kamara.
It's
but
I
then
mean,
when
the
Kamara
Hunt.
comes back, you have Kareem Hunt and Jamal Williams on your roster.
Kamara's
That's insane.
been doing this. Kamara's been constantly doing
Come on
this.
now.
He's becoming more of a pass.
His team has been doing that.
But
he's been dealing with quarterback issues.
It's not
ever
him,
since
but his
since
production
Breeze
is
left.
going down. Well, that's
Taysom Hill takes all of his red zone touches.
Yep.
Like that's the problem.
I feel that. It's a scary little, Swiss Army knife working over there.
So, Austin, you got angry that we were going out of your order last week. What division do you want to do this next week? We'll let you pick.
Yeah, not that one.
NFC South.
You want the NFC South next week?
Did we do the South?
I think we did the South.
No, we haven't done the South yet. We still have the NFC South and North to do, and we still have the AFC East and West.
Yeah, NFC South.
NFC South next week? Okay, so we got the Falcons, the Saints, the Buccaneers,
Bucks,
and the Panthers.
Carolina.
Hey. Now, for all those out there that are still listening, make sure to go to TulsiRoseTea.com and get yourself some tea delivered. Tea and the tea accessories. Everly's Tropical is my favorite, personally. It's also named after Justin's daughter, so there we go. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so that whenever we go live, you get notified.
Ding ding.
You guys got anything for the people?
You want those noties. You want those noties. Oh, I'm just throwing it out there to the people. Y'all, if we can get to 150 subscribers,
this motherfucker,
we're going to do a giveaway for you guys.
Ooh.
And then I'm telling you now, if we get to 500 subscribers, I will personally buy you a NFL jersey of your choice. If we get to 500 subscribers, so put the word out there.
500 of you, you're all going to get your own jersey.
Nope. One jersey for all 500 to share.
There you go.
Like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants style with the jersey. That's what we're going to do.
Like a plan.
No, but for real, 500 subscribers, we'll do a raffle, we'll do a giveaway, some type of, randomized order, and I will personally buy somebody a jersey if we hit 500 subscribers. So put the word out there, get it out there and, just help your chances.
For 150, we will give a subscription to Pro Football Focus. If you don't have Pro Football Focus, then that's why you've never been able to win any of your leagues. Get better. Maybe subscribe, and you can win a subscription to Pro Football Focus as well. So thanks for joining us.
No ads.
No ads. Hey, love it. go ahead and hit those notifications. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Love you guys. Boop, boop.
Peace out.